People who make their mental illness their identity will never recover. Unpopular opinions by anonymous people from Reddit. Being chronically late is not a quirk. You're being disrespectful of my time, especially if I'm the one who invited you out. You don't know what I may have given up to meet you. It's not a cutesy trait of yours, it's something you need to work on. Stop defining yourself by it, get better. Just because you live in a good area doesn't automatically mean your life is easy. I always hear people hating on richer suburbs, towns, etc., but I don't think they realize just because you live in a better area doesn't mean your life is easy or perfect. I know lots of people that live in good areas but only lives in apartments or townhomes. Just because they lived in a good town doesn't mean they had a good home, life, etc. Now I would say I live in an area that isn't bad. Very good, actually. But I know lots of kids that don't have very great lives at home. I know a lot of parents who are verbally abusive to their kids, even though they live in a good area. Now this doesn't apply to me as much. I have had a few struggles being gay, but I'm tired of people acting like your life is easy just because you live in a good area. Not always the case. Edit. I also want to clarify that just because you don't live in a great area, it doesn't mean your life was hard. Not always the case most of the time, but there are a lot of people who live in harder areas but have perfect lives, even better than some kids in good areas. Also, I want to say that I'm not trying to compare kids in good areas to kids in bad areas. Definitely kids who have deep struggles such as physical abuse or are the brink of starvation have it worse than kids in nicer areas. I'm just saying that kids in good areas don't have totally perfect lives at home. Also, when I mean good, I mean they get everything they need or want. They have great education, they go lots of places, they have lots of things, etc. And when I mean bad, I mean their family is financially hurting. They struggle with daily household items. They don't have much, etc. School cultivates a fear of failure in students. I feel like the school system barely does anything to try and spark interest in learning, and instead just beats in a fear of failure due to the grading system, causing students to fear making mistakes and instead focus on just trying to get good scores. When a kid who might be a slow learner doesn't understand something, but the class is already moving on to another topic, they're going to feel embarrassed and anxious, and instead of trying to fully understand the topics, they are just going to try and memorize as much as they can for that week, just to do well on that week's pop quiz or whatever, and then forget that shit right after. The need to buy the newest tech is stupid and wasteful. Seeing people basically willing to fight to the death over the new PS5 and Xbox just makes me cringe. These are the same people that will also buy the next couple models that come out in the following years too. So what even is the point? I have a PS4 that I use almost daily, and I'm very heavy into console gaming, but I have no desire to waste so much money on the first day that a new console drops. It looks, feels and sounds like a huge money trap, especially with the PlayStation exclusives, like Demon's Souls or Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like, buy our new consoles, so you can play these new games. I can wait, but it feels like they are preying on people with addictive personalities. It also makes me feel like older consoles are basically obsolete, even though I truly don't see much of a difference in performance other than like graphics and maybe more memory. Becoming a famous rapper is more about image than it is musical ability or talent. I see some posts about people grinding to make it as rappers, but it honestly seems like the less you try to force it, the better your chances will be. It honestly comes down to if you have the right image for the time, and if you got the talent to go with it, that's a bonus. There are lots of famous rappers who do have talent, but to me, they are not the same kind of famous as the ones who blow up in mainstream media and are stars. So-called playable ads that trick you to play and redirect you to the store should violate the user's privacy policy for accessing it without your consent. Tricks like the very tiny closed button, so it'll be hard for you to click it, and when not clicked properly and not accurately, the ad will divert you to the store to show their app installation. The short demo, where you will be able to play for seconds, then will eventually, and surprisingly, redirect you to the store, and the sorts. Any application every user is using is private. If an ad automatically and suddenly puts you in any private account of yours, including the App Store and Play Store of course, without you consenting it should be considered a violation. Therefore, the tricks have to stop. Point that being said, I'd add that it is indeed frustrating and undeniably irritating too. Edit. Whoa. I wasn't expecting this to blow up. Thank you so very much. And to the people who keep saying this to be not unpopular at all, I'm truly sorry I disappointed you. I didn't know. Using your mental illness as a major identity marker will hinder your ability to recover or respond to treatment. Disclaimers. 1. This is not about genetic/developmental disorders such as Downs, autism, CP or other disorders that will never go away, go into remission, or be cured. 2. I'm medicated for depression, and I'm in remission from an eating disorder, so I'm not just talking out my ass here. In my experience, people who use their mental illness as a major identity marker don't seem to want to get better. For those people it seems like having a mental illness is a personality trait that they want to hold on to because it makes them different or special. They don't want to get better because they've built their illness up and their mind is a central part of who they are. And if that goes away, then who are they? It seems to me that if you spend all this time talking about having a mental illness and basing your identity and interactions around it, what will you do if you have a major breakthrough in therapy or you're prescribed an effective medication? Suddenly you've lost a major part of yourself. Talking about your mental illness all the time just reinforces to yourself that you have a mental illness. If you are serious about recovery or treatment, I think your goal should be to make that part of yourself as small and insignificant to your identity as possible. And in that, you should not need to bring it up all the time. I understand that it's a long road to recovery, and communication with loved ones about where you're at is important. But also, find something besides your illness that makes you who you are. Otherwise you'll never be able to lose that part of you and get better. Raising your hand to your child doesn't do them any good, but never saying no to them does more damage. I have a few family friends. One in particular has a son who is now 14 years old. I've known this boy for his entire life, since he came out of the womb. Even as a child he was very disrespectful to his parents because his parents refused to raise their hand to them. Seeing the disrespect shocked me, because if I would be that rude, I would have gotten a belt to the back of my head. So I was like, okay, he's a child. Children are going to be stupid. They're gonna be loud and rude, but he's going to grow up. He hasn't. When visiting he would constantly say no, stop, shut up in an aggressive tone. And again, this blew me away because they do everything for this kid and I love him to death. But I'm still shocked with the way he talks to his parents. After eating 10 minutes prior to finishing he told his mother to shut up. She stood up to throw away her plate, but then once she was getting up he said, "Mommy, I'm done." Mommy, you're 14 and you just told your mother to shut up. Then my father tells me they on the release day just bought him a PS5. This is scary because once again, I'm against using physical discipline. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for a lot of us. But letting your kid get whatever they want, let them talk however they want, especially in front of company, and never tell them no is gonna set them up for complete failure in their lives. How are they going to react to a girl rejecting them? To a college? Losing friends? Real world shit after age 18. Babying your child and never disciplining them at all will make them feel entitled, egotistical, and not humble at all, and that is very dangerous. Wanting to live forever is stupid. To preface this, I'm a Christian, and I do believe in an afterlife. I don't know whether it is a sin to say this, but I'm not particularly excited about heaven or hell. I think that this sentiment of wanting to live forever that the human race has embraced for millennia is absurd. I enjoy certain things about life, sure, but even if I was happy all the time I would want it to end at some point. I don't really know how to explain it, but I think eventual oblivion, or at least having the option to enter that state, sounds way better than being compelled, one way or another, to be conscious and exist for eternity. I'm not trying to be edgy. I think that most honest people, Christians or otherwise, would agree that life should end at some point. People who say that the previous generation had it easier don't take into account the vast amounts of luxury items we all have today and treat as essentials. You often hear people talk about how this generation can't afford to buy a house and can't afford to raise their family on a single wage anymore. And although it is true that real estate prices have outpaced inflation, these calculations never include the fact that every single person on the planet has a smartphone with expensive data plan, TVs, Netflix, consoles, cars, all manner of kitchen and bathroom appliances, many changes of clothes, shoes, takeaway food regularly, and this even applies to the poorest people in Western culture. If this was the 50s, sure, a dad could buy a house on a butcher's wage and raise 6 kids, but they'd all share clothes and their fun would be hitting a fence with a stick. It really does seem that we've traded some of the essentials for a wide range of non-essentials that we now consider essentials. I'm 26 BTW, not a boomer. If you liked the video, please smash like and subscribe. It would really help the channel out. I hope you have a nice day.